Thank you very much, Cillian, for that nice introduction. I should start this by saying that when I was invited to speak today, I was given no instructions, so I wasn't sure what to talk about, but as chair of the advisory board, I thought I should first maybe speak about, or at least give my views on why we have a centre at all, what is the role of a centre, why then have an advisory board, and then in that case, why have me as the director? The short answer to the last one is that Joe Hockey wants us all to work till we're 70, and I'm nearly 70, so this is an opportunity to satisfy Mr. Hockey's requirements. I was very pleased to see Andrew's slides giving his vision of the centre, because we've had less discussion on the role of the centre than perhaps we should have, and I'm delighted to see that my view of what a centre should be is well aligned with Andrew's views on what they wish to achieve here. With the addition, I will have to say, of a couple of extra nodes in that complete graph that he showed us, which I will come to in a moment. Well, let me speak a moment about why me. By virtue of giving you my background in association with centres of mathematics and mathematical sciences. I did my undergraduate and master's degrees in physics at the University of Melbourne, and then moved to the University of New South Wales for a PhD in mathematical physics, which I completed in 1969, then spent a couple of years as a postdoc at the University of London, King's College, and then joined the relatively new Faculty of Mathematics at the University of Newcastle in 1971. University of Newcastle had the first, and to my knowledge the only, and at this stage the last, because it doesn't exist anymore, Faculty of Mathematics in this country. I stayed there for 15 years. I became the second dean of the faculty in 1984, and after about a year, 18 months in that role, I realised that being a dean wasn't actually a career path that I wished to follow, and so I left in 1986 and moved to the University of Melbourne, where I have been ever since. As far as centres go, as you may know, the mathematics community has, perhaps for something like 30 years now, been trying to set up a national research centre for mathematics similar to those that exist in most of the other countries we compare ourselves to, like Canada, America, Germany, even Chile, Japan, China, etc. But with very little success. But we were always looking for opportunities. Then in 2001, the Victorian government announced a series of what they called infrastructure grants, with very little statements as to what that actually meant. And so we asked whether a mathematics research centre counted as an infrastructure grant. We were told that, well, we were welcome to apply. So Jan Thomas and I wrote a proposal for the Mathematical Sciences Institute, which was rather difficult because the Victorian government wanted a Victorian-centric organisation. We needed to get funding from universities all around Australia, and of course they weren't interested in funding something that was Victorian-centric, so we had to sort of steer a path between Scylla and Charybdis of appealing both as a national centre and as a Victorian centre, which we managed to do. So that was set up. That was how AMSI was born in 2002. I was the interim director, and AMSI, I'm happy to say, is going strong. I think it's AMSI, it may not be realised, but I think is responsible for one of the extremely few, and to my knowledge the only positive thing in the recently announced budget, which is the increase in funding for mathematics for Commonwealth funded places. Mathematics has been moved up now into the same funding stream as the laboratory-based sciences and engineering, which is an increase of 25%, which is virtually the only increase apart from defence that I'm aware of in the current budget. Now this, I believe, and I'm giving my opinion now, I can't establish, this is not established fact, I believe that this is because the chief scientist, Ian Chubb, successfully lobbied, and Ian Chubb, in turn, is very close to Jeff Prince, the director of AMSI, who has also been lobbying him very strenuously on behalf of mathematics. So I think this is a big success of AMSI's, apart from all its other obvious strengths which are well known. So while we were setting up premises for AMSI, I was the interim director, and we were refining our agenda, setting up advisory boards and that sort of thing. The ARC announced the first Centres of Excellence program. These were in 4 areas that some consultant had advised them Australia should get into, and one of them was complex systems. We asked what complex systems meant, and nobody in the ARC seemed to know. So we said, well, would you accept an application from the mathematical scientists? And they said, sure. So we applied, and as much by good luck as good management. It's not something to be told in public, but if anyone gives me a drink or two, I'll tell them the story. We did manage to get the grant, and I was the director of the ARC Centre of Excellence for Complex Systems. The acronym is MASCOS, which was started in 2003. I stood down as the director of AMSI, a role which was taken up by Garth Gaudry at that time. And I've been director of MASCOS now for 11 years, and while we no longer receive ARC funding, we're still functioning, and a number of the benefits of having a centre have continued to flow both to us and to our other partners. After I stood down as director of AMSI and Garth took over, there was another opportunity for funding. The government announced an International Centre of Excellence for Education in Mathematics, or Mathematics Education, and together with Garth Gaudry and Jan Thomas and I, the 3 of us wrote an application for that, and we got a $3 million grant from the federal government for this. And since we wanted to distinguish ourselves from the mathematics education establishment, we called ourselves the Centre for Education in Mathematics. And it seemed a good thing at a time, and it did some good things, but I'm still not sure that in hindsight it was to our benefit. The reason being that it became the tail that wagged the AMSI dog. My vision for AMSI was more of a research establishment and a sort of mini PIMS or MSRI. But with a budget of $1 million for that activity and a budget of more than $3 million for maths education, it was clear where the money had to go, where the effort had to go, and so AMSI never evolved in the way that I had hoped, because we had that overriding preponderance of effort and funding to go into mathematics education. Then last year I helped write the application for the next round of centres, and that was successful. We got a new Centre of Excellence at the University of Melbourne and the Queensland University of Technology and New South Wales Institute of Technology, University of Technology in Sydney are the 3 major partners. And that was the only Centre of Excellence in the last round in the mathematical sciences. So just in case I leave you with the impression that you only have to write applications for these centres and you'll get one. Unfortunately, it's not true. In the previous round of centres, together with John Borwine, we wrote what I thought was a superb application for a centre, and that was unsuccessful. And of course, I've been associated with other unsuccessful centres, but I've had the good fortune to be associated with pretty much all the successful centres this century. So that's my background and my association with centres. So given all these centres, you might be asking, why should we have a centre here, and what is the role of an advisory board? Now, these are the advantages of a centre. These are entirely my own opinions. I have not run them by Andrew or Rusby, so they are free to disagree with them. But it seems to me that the purpose of a centre is that it should provide a level of cohesion, cooperation, and a sense of purpose even greater than that of a given department. That is to say, joint research projects within the centre, and the possibility of tackling problems of greater scale and focus than is usual in mathematics. And it should also form a point of focus for other sections of the university to obtain mathematical advice. Many other disciplines require mathematical expertise. Sometimes they don't even realise this. Of course, it's common that in design of experiments or statistical surveys that people might come and talk to a math department to ask for advice, but often they don't know who to ask. So I would suggest that a centre provides a natural point of focus, and one of the things you might consider is to put mechanisms in place so that if you get inquiries, they can be streamed to the appropriate person. And I'd also suggest, as Paul Keating once said, put your money on self-interest. That's a horse you always know that's trying. It's also in your self-interest to encourage such activities, because if the Dean and the Vice-Chancellor keep hearing from other sections of the university that the CRM is providing excellent advice or service to them, requests for more personnel and more funding are more likely to receive a favourable response. And this is another node that I thought was missing from your graph, or a node that I thought was missing from your graph, Andrew, which is that the centre can provide a point of focus for outside users, government, industry, healthcare workers. I think this is an underutilised opportunity. I suggest that you maybe identify some local opportunities